Welcome back, our dear listeners, to What's New this week on Construction Week Middle East. Today we have a very special guest joining us, Partner and Managing Director at Cundall for Europe, Middle East and North Africa, Richard Stratton. Cundall is a global independent, multidiscipline consultancy delivering sustainable engineering and design solutions across the built environment. Following Cundall's launch in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Richard talks about the business's regional growth, how they're supporting Saudi Vision 2030, and pushing the boundaries of the built environment. All right, Richard, thank you so much for coming over to our offices. It is a pleasure having you. How are you today?
Very good, and it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for hosting this.
Great, thank you for coming. Now, to kick off our conversation, I would just like to ask you, how would you kind of describe Cundall's evolution in the last 15 years and maybe even how are your offerings and your expertise changed in that time period?
Well, we set up the office here in 2007, so it was a very exciting commencement to our journey. Then of course we got the global financial crisis in 2008, which was very challenging, and we rebuilt after that and subsequently set up our business in Qatar in 2012. Most of our focus in the early days was around the MEP and sustainability side of the business, and over this time we've grown the business into a full multidisciplinary offering. And more recently what we've been doing is focusing more on offering lead design consultancy services, looking at a focus on different sectors. So for example, entertainment, also different services. So sustainability, we've always been pushing hard on, and we're continuing to do that in health and well-being.
All the important sectors here in the region.
Yeah, very much. And you know, so building those relationships with our clients and strengthening those relationships, and setting up our office in Saudi now is the next exciting step on our journey. And I think, you know, the fact that we're very proud to have won about 30 awards in the last, I think, 4 years. 2 of which were for Multidisciplinary Consultancy of the Year, 2 were for Green Consultant of the Year. And I think for a company of our size, that's probably says a lot about how we do our business and how we work in the business. It's been a hell of a journey, very exciting.
Some
and
great
more
stories
to come.
to tell, yes.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Now you've mentioned that you're opening up an office in Saudi. I would just like to ask you, how do you see that transformation in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia? Like, how can Cundall in a way expand in the kingdom and just be part of that whole vision there?
But what we're certainly seeing is that the developers have very strong commitments to sustainability, to the ecology. I mean, an example of that is, and they're challenging, which is good. They're pushing some of the boundaries. An example of that for us is we're involved in a very large Dark Skies initiative with the Red Sea Development Company. It's probably the biggest Dark Skies initiative in the world. There's significant regeneration in social infrastructure around the obvious areas of education and healthcare, but also around entertainment, responsible entertainment. And it's not just, it's both recreation as well as educational. We've got people on the ground, and we're very excited to continue to drive and grow those parts of the business.
All right, that was well noted, Richard. Now, a very blunt question for you. Why is now the right time to open an office in Saudi?
We've been working in Saudi for more than 12 years, mostly focusing on international clients. We have actually considered setting up an office in Saudi previously, but at the time it didn't align with our business growth strategy or our values. But with the ambition of the Vision 2030 and that undeniable and immense positive change in Saudi, we just feel that now is the right time. It's, we can really contribute more now than we would have probably been able to in the past.
And your expectations are much higher probably now.
Yeah. We want to make positive change. We want to make impact. As a company, sustainability underpins absolutely everything that we do. And now that there's and also, our drive towards diversity, equality and inclusivity. It's really important for us. It's a priority for us as a business. It's a priority for our people, and it's something that the change in Saudi is embracing, and we can bring something to the market, and hopefully being involved in that, we can influence change. And being part of, even if it's a small part of that change, it's got to be the right thing to do.
We definitely see a lot of opportunities happening in Saudi Arabia. There's no doubt about that. But if we were to talk about the challenges, for example, what do you think are some of the challenges that maybe Cundall is going to be facing there, as well as how are you maybe preparing to mitigate those challenges at the end of the day and solve the issues?
Yeah, I think the obvious challenge is the ambition, the impressive ambition that Saudi has is placing immense pressure on the construction sector. So resources in our industry are under great demand.
Yeah.
So how do we actually deal with that? And that's one of the things that we've been looking at. So we've looked at a number of strategies, and we've implemented some of these in the past with our other global growth strategies. But what we use, building on our sort of what we call our one Cundall approach to things, what we can do is we can accelerate and support our growth of our people there. So it's drawing on the talent across the business. We're a very, we're not a very big global business, but we're very connected. So knowledge sharing and all of everything that goes with that.
Quality over quantity, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We're continually looking at our, what we do as a business in terms of efficiency and effectiveness in how we deliver, building on our technology platforms around digitization and AI solutions. And then, a huge opportunity is really capitalizing on the whole diversity and inclusivity piece for us. And it's something that's is really important, building on our talent development programs that we have globally around things like apprentices, or early careers, getting into university schools and starting to get the best out of that talent and drawing really on all of the talent that exists in Saudi.
So my final question regarding Saudi Arabia for you would be, how do you in Cundall intend to help achieve Vision 2030 objectives via the whole Saudization concept and the targets that they have set in the kingdom?
Whenever we've set up in any new location, our desire is always to create sustainable businesses. And Saudi has a big, probably unlike the UAE and Qatar, has a big national population. So naturally, they should be the greatest proportion of our staff in a sustainable business. And that's ultimately our long-term objective. But also, when we established the business, we decided to establish the business with a local partner, a young, dynamic businessman called Abdulaziz Al Bassam. And the principal reason for that was to focus our efforts and strengthen our focus around the nationalization program. And Abdulaziz has a number of businesses. He's been through this. He's partnered in other areas with other international companies. And we saw that as a really, really good advantage for us. And then in addition to that, there's a wide range of other recruitment strategies that we're looking at, probably, but with a real focus on trying to build a strong Saudi workforce within our business.
All right, and given that sustainability is so important to Cundall, and we kept talking about it, how do you intend to really incorporate all of those principles in the day-to-day operations in Saudi Arabia? If you could just give us a little bit more detail.
Yeah.
And then delve into it.
I mentioned this kind of scale of Cundall. I mean, we're about 1,100 employees globally. Okay, we work to a common strategy and a consistent set of values and processes, and that's across all of our global offices. And Saudi will be no different in that regard. So our focus around sustainability, around diversity and inclusivity, they're really important parts of our business, and they'll be cemented in and a focus of our business in Saudi. So for us, it's just another office operating equally the same way as every other office does.
I mean, with such a great project pipeline that you guys have, I'm sure you're doing an amazing job at being sustainable and following all your targets. So congratulations on all the awards that you won, and best of luck to Cundall and to you. Thank you so much for coming over to our studios once again, Richard.
Well, it's been my pleasure, and thank you very much for having us.
Thank you. And that's a wrap. If you liked today's episode, make sure to like and comment your thoughts below, as well as follow Construction Week Middle East for more construction content. Have a great day ahead.